Our opening thought comes to us from David Suzuki from Is It Too Late to Escape Climate Catastrophe? Suzuki writes, "It's still possible to move off this destructive path, but not if we continue to elevate human-invented economic systems and politics above the foundation of our existence, which is nature, clean air, safe water, rich soil, toxic-free food, and sunlight." Our next reading is from Life After Doom by Brian McLaren. McLaren writes, "We live in between two impending dangers, both real, both potential threats to our existence. To our left, we face the frightening gradual accumulation of environmental and social consequences of ecological overshoot. To our right, we face the more sudden social consequences of having our terror management strategies fail, plunging us and our neighbors into our most reactive, most neurotic, and least rational behaviors, right at a time when we need cool heads and a collaborative spirit." Our next reading is from Naomi Klein, from her book, This Changes Everything. She writes, "Our economic system and our planetary system are now at war. Or more accurately, our economy is at war with many forms of life on Earth, including human life. What the climate needs to avoid collapse is a contraction in humanity's use of resources. What our economic model demands to avoid collapse is unfettered expansion. Only one of these sets of rules can be changed, and it's not the laws of nature. It's the end of the world as we know it." In this discourse, I'll be exploring how we might work together to end the world as we know it in order to create the world as it should be. I have to give a shout out to the rock group REM. Many of you may know of REM from Athens, Georgia. I have to give a shout out to them for the title of today's discourse, as it comes from their song title. It's The End of the World as We Know It. And after our time of giving today, you'll have a chance to attempt to sing that song along with Michael Stipe. If you're able to sing along, I'll be very, very impressed with you. Wishing for the end of an unjust and brutal world as we know it is not a new phenomenon. We see it expressed over and over again in the apocalyptic literature of various religions, and we also see it expressed in the literature and work of liberation and revolutionary movements in the world, both past and present, working to end injustice and oppression. One of my professors that I worked with at Boston University, I was her teaching fellow for a couple of years. Her name was Paula Fredrickson. She was an expert on Jewish and Christian apocalyptic literature, and she often would remind her students that apocalyptic literature is not written by happy people. It's written by people who are deeply disappointed in the way things are, and who are longing for their experience of suffering and the injustice of the world as they know it to come to an end. Being controlled and oppressed by an imperial power and being persecuted and even fed to the lions does not make for a happy people. Being under the control of a violent and brutal empire does not make for happy people. And much of the apocalyptic literature in the Jewish and Christian traditions is written in that kind of context. So with that in mind, I actually find that the most helpful way to read apocalyptic literature is not how it is often read today as a prediction of when the world will end or that the world will actually end, but rather as a prophetic statement that the world as we know it, an unjust world that the powerful have created and perpetuated, must end before a new world of love and justice can break through. It is a tragic irony that the apocalyptic literature of the Christian tradition that was written as a rebuke and rejection of the brutality of empire is now being used by empire to control the hearts and minds of the masses for the sake of perpetuating empire and its unjust and violent ways. The longing for a new and just world so often expressed in apocalyptic literature has been tragically transformed into a nihilistic obsession with the destruction of the world and finding ways to escape this destruction by seeking personal salvation in another world after this life. Rather than a prophetic force for change in this world, apocalyptic visions have been co-opted by the powerful to keep the oppressed and the vulnerable in their place. So many aspects of the world as we know it must end for the world as we need it to begin. It's imperative that we see clearly that the world that oligarchs want is not the world that people and the planet need. If people spent more time working together to transform our world towards love and justice, rather than attempting to escape this world for a heaven above, it would go a long way towards avoiding the hell on earth that the oligarchs are currently creating. There are, I would say, roughly 3 responses to the unsustainable and unjust situation that we are currently experiencing in the world right now. These are 3 types. There's probably all sorts of variations in between and combinations, but these are 3 typical responses, I think, to what we're experiencing. One possible response is for us to have an unrealistic pie-in-the-sky hope that everything is going to be all right. Don't worry, be happy. It's all going to be all right in the end. It's all going to come together for us. This response, this very optimistic response, this overly optimistic response, this unrealistically optimistic response might make us feel better for a moment, or make us feel better that somehow we're going to escape the suffering that we're experiencing, but it actually does nothing to make the world a better place for those who are being oppressed, for those who are being exploited. Those who are in control of the world as we know it would like for there to be a lot of overly optimistic people walking around this world. A second option goes in the opposite direction towards hopelessness and despair, extreme pessimism. All is lost. We are doomed, and there is nothing that we can do about it. And there's nothing that you can do about it. It's done. It's finished. It's over. The oligarchs and the autocrats would love for us to have that attitude as well. They want people to give up on the possibility of change and transformation. They want people to feel hopeless, to stop believing in democratic political processes. But the best way to resist the oligarchs and autocrats is actually by redoubling our enthusiasm and our commitment to democracy, and to use every nonviolent democratic tool at our disposal to keep hope and democracy alive, to keep hope in the people alive, to keep hope in our future alive, because we know that the countries who have been able to do that, who've been able to be more democratic and participatory, are having the best present right now and will continue to have in the future the best kind of society and flourishing possible. They're more happy, they're more healthy, they're more educated, they're more sustainable, they're actually more free, they're more just, and less corrupt than we are as a nation. But hopelessness and despair is that second option. There's nothing we can do about it. You hear a lot of that, even among persons who have been very engaged in the past. Things are getting so bad that they're looking around. David Suzuki's an example of that. He's becoming more pessimistic as time goes by. They're looking around and wondering if there's anything that we can do. Suzuki does believe that there is, but it's understandable that people would get to that point of despair and hopelessness given the world that we're experiencing. A third option, which is the option that I think is the most helpful, even though it's a difficult one to maintain, it's a difficult one to sustain. The third option is realistic hope, or what might more complexly be called meliorism. Meliorism is not optimism on one extreme or pessimism on the other extreme. You've heard the word ameliorate, to make something better, right? So meliorism is the belief that things can get better, but it's not a given that they are going to get better. It's going to take hard work, it's going to take us coming together, and it's going to take sacrifice to make things better. Because when we look at the awareness that we have of both evil and also our capacity for goodness in humanity, and the lasting impression I know that's made on me, we realize that things are just not going to get better by themselves, but that humans do have the capability for great good, to bring about great change in the world. We've seen too many human failings, including our own, to be overly optimistic about the future, but we've also seen too many wonderful acts of life-giving love and compassion to be overly pessimistic about the future as well. So I'm a meliorist. I believe we can make the world a better place through hard work and through shared commitment. But there is no guarantee. It is up to us. It's our responsibility. We have to take that responsibility. It may actually be true that the world as we know it is coming to an end. But this just may be the best opportunity we have to work together to create a new and better world for both our human community and our ecological community. Perhaps the end of the world as we know it must take place before the world as we need it can more fully come into existence. We need the end of a violent world. We need the end of a patriarchal and misogynist world. We need the end of an unjust and racist world. We need the end of a world that is controlled by the wealthy and powerful to satisfy their greed. We need the end of a cruel, brutal, and unsustainable world. We need an end to the worst of the world to bring the best of the world into being. And if we do the necessary work to bring this new world into being, this new world of beloved community into existence, we might find ourselves joining in the chorus of REM's song. It's the end of the world as we know it. That's not the end of the chorus, though, right? It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. And I feel fine.